How to calm the inner voice. It's so common that we feel like we're being bombarded by thoughts. And if we just start to pay attention to the nature of those thoughts, we usually start to pick up that the thoughts are really just a lot of inner dialogue, a lot of assessments, a lot of judgments, a lot of musings, wondering this and that, as well as mind wandering where we're thinking about subjects, experiences, people that simply aren't here. If we take inventory and sort of add up how much of the time we're experiencing what is not happening in the internal world, rather than what is actually appearing in the external world, it can really give one pause. It's pretty astounding how much we're dragged around by thought, by the pushing and pulling of the mind. So what do you do about this? Well, first, just become curious about the nature of that inner dialogue, of thoughts themselves. At what point does thought become involuntary? When do you recognize a thought as my thought or a thought? And when does it feel like it's just you knowing something, or believing something, or judging something? Where does identification begin? These are all questions to ask yourself as you're experiencing your own internal world, your own thought space. Notice a thought that is narrative based. A thought that's something like self-talk. Does it feel like a thought? Or does it feel like you? If it doesn't feel like you, well, then who's doing the thinking? Or who is that thought occurring to? Where's that one? What is that one? We could label it consciousness, self-awareness. But doesn't that just become another thought, another belief? So just get curious about what the experience is of thinking, or noticing thought, or being the sense of the one thoughts seem to be occurring to. Are you a watcher in a space? The internal world? Isn't the watcher just another thought? So then what are you? Where are you? See, this all comes down to identity. You'll never successfully calm the struggle of the mind without penetrating the illusory identity, the first layer of identity, which is very binding. It's tightly woven. It has a lot of momentum. And it feels very much like you until it doesn't. So learn to discern why something does feel like you. Is it because the thoughts are just going on and on about something called you? But when you look closely and accurately and with discernment, you realize the one that's aware of the thoughts about you, even if they seem to be in your voice, can't be those thoughts. So are those thoughts actually about anything other than themselves? or other than the next thought, and the next thought, and the next thought. But who or what is the capacity to know thinking, to perceive thinking, to be aware of thinking? What is that? What is that sense of I right now? That which is aware of this, listening to this. That's there, whether there's a thought saying something about me or not. Indeed, it's there all the time. If you have a memory or belief about when it's not there, or even when it is there, that's just one moment, one fleeting thought, one cloud floating across the sky, dissipating into the blue nothingness. But what is that nothingness? That spaciousness, that potential for anything to form? What is it? How does it feel right now? You might be wondering why I'm not talking about quieting the inner voice or stopping the internal narrative, but you can't expect to get anywhere attacking it on its own level. If you struggle with thoughts, or you try to think your way out of the problem of the thinking self, you'll just get more entangled in it because you're believing thoughts. So what I'm pointing to is the solution. The solution is a matter of identity. Who or what are you? It's not contingent upon any thought at all. It doesn't move no matter how much moves within it, or how much moves in and out in this moment, in this experience. And yet, the experience itself, unchanging, vast, without boundary, without specific quality, without distance, without need, without struggle, without pushing, without pulling, without taking a reference point and trying to stay there, without defending anything, without holding ground. And yet, it remains just now. What is it? What is its nature? The answer to these questions can only be answered by being it, fully and knowingly, without grasping a single concept. So if there's narrative, fine. But you've never moved from this. Narratives come and go. Stories change. Even if it seems like the same story has come around again and again and again, that's okay. It's still just one story right now. One movement of mind, one thought. And yet, something never moves. It's not sullied by that, not touched by that, not tainted by that. Not apart from that, not apart from anything. This is a common misperception that we need to be apart from life somehow, apart from ourselves, apart from struggle, temptation, frustration, anger, sadness, thoughts. But that's the opposite direction. We're going in so close, right to the center, right to the core of the matter. We're going right to this space or knowingness that makes everything possible. But it doesn't have to do anything. That's the point. That's what we're talking about here. That's all we're talking about. Everything beyond this shift in identity, which you don't have to worry about if you lead yourself here with genuine curiosity, willingness to let go of the beliefs and judgments and agendas, then it will clarify itself naturally. You don't have to anticipate anything. Anticipation is one thought. It's a sort of comparison thought, trying to compare this to something else. That's what's keeping you in the mind. Let it go. There's nothing to compare anywhere. All comparisons dissolve here. And then the clarifying of the depth of this is natural. You don't have to handle it, struggle with it. Really, in some sense, you don't even have to work at it. But you have to be willing to reside where no thought has ever touched, no belief has ever touched. If you sense it, even a little bit, what we're talking about here, that's it. Everything else is just a doubt. Let the doubts calm down. Let the mind calm down. When you don't grasp at thoughts, you don't push and pull on mind, beliefs, etc. It just calms down. But you don't have to monitor that. Just natural process. So just stay with this knowingness that also has a natural curiosity to it, an affinity for itself, because there is only itself. This is the boundless I, or the self with a big S, a capital S. You can always reside here, as long as you're conscious. So this is where intention, which means the intention for living truth, the intention to see, feel, and experience in the most primary, direct way, meets surrender, which, when you touch into this, you realize it's not something that you're causing to happen or doing, because you're already it. That's the surrender. The small s self, or the little s self, surrenders to the big S self, or the capital S self. The Atman surrenders to the Brahman. So just let it happen. Offer only your curiosity and willingness to surrender, to be surrendered, and to lay down the ego, that which thinks it knows how everything is supposed to go. It doesn't. It's just a collection of thoughts. This is just how it is already. It's exactly how it needs to be. Perfect. So don't try to struggle with experience any more than you struggle with thoughts. Experience is self-obvious, simple, innocent. Stay with it. Don't grasp. Don't hold on to anything here, because the holding is where the issue is. It's not the thoughts. Thoughts just react to the grasping. They're becoming more compelling, or more detailed, or more frequent. But thought is innocent. It's just movement of consciousness. So don't grasp. Don't reject. Don't judge. There's no word for what we're talking about here, because I don't want to give it a label. But it is a sort of abiding. It's a knowingness without an object of knowing. It's the vast, infinite canvas on which all of your experience that you've ever had has been painted. So you're the paintbrush and the canvas and the paint and the movement. And you're beyond even identity. So dividing experience up into the subject and the object, the paintbrush and the paint and the canvas, really makes no sense. It's just a pointer. Let go of all the pointers and just be there.